Hello everybody, this is the Gruesome Fox coming at you with two matches here in the Messer Type-F02. These are both going to be 650 cost rated matches. This first match here is actually going to be a request from the King of Kaiju, who wanted to see the Messer Type-F02 in 4th of July colors, which I know as of posting this I am a little late to the occasion here, but I'll explain in the video why this I'll explain later on why this video kind of came out a bit later than I kind of wanted it to. But the colors here, they did come out really well. They kind of almost remind me more of like a sort of like a stunt performer almost, with the way the color layout here works with the massive amounts of blue and red mainly. I use a lot of blue in this color scheme here. And then the next match here is going to be just going to be a basic match that I also had using the suits. That one's going to be on military base. And yeah, the reason that this video is kind of coming out later than I wanted to is really just because the Messer Type-F02 here is a really difficult suit for me to go into detail about, and that's really just because it's very similar to the Messer Type-F01, which, if you're not aware, is a general at the same cost. And yeah, both of these suits are just very similar. There are differences between them, which I will get into, but for starters, I will just go over the basic weapon loadouts that the Messer Type-F02 here. Some other basic stuff about it, and as I mentioned, you are a 650 cost raid in this suit here. For your weapons, you do have the same beam rifle and beam saber that the Messer Type-F01 uses. You have a pair of head Vulcans, which I think I played matches in both this suit and the F01 to try to get some comparisons. I believe the Vulcans for this suit have a slower fire rate. I wasn't able to see the stun value on the F01 when I was playing it, but I know these Vulcans have some pretty good stun accumulation, so for the slow rate of fire, you do have some compensation for that. Next, you have the mines on the back of the waistskirt here. These are the exact same mines that are used on the F01. You do have a new weapon here, being a rapid-fire version of the beam rifle. I really like this weapon. It's a good damage dealer, as well as also being a good stun option as well. Against most suits, it will take 2 bursts in order to get a stun. And yeah, I should probably clarify, it says rapid fire, but it really fires more in bursts. You can fire 4 bursts, each of which fires 3 rounds, and you have 12 rounds total. So yeah, usually just 6 bursts, I believe, if you're just using this weapon, will be enough to get a stun. Some suits, depending on their skills, you might have to use 1 more shot from the 3rd burst in order to get the stun, or you could probably just use a different weapon as well, maybe switch to the Vulcans. That might be a little bit of a better option there. But other than that, yeah, I really do like this weapon on this suit. Next, you also have a missile in the shield. This is something else that is new to this version of the Messer. And this is a pretty basic instant stun. It is on the left arm, so that is something to remember. But again, it is an instant stun with a pretty quick reload as well. I believe this might actually be one of your quickest reloading weapons. Yeah, it actually reloads faster than the Vulcans last time I checked, so really good stun option if maybe you're waiting for your beam rifle to reload, or you just want to combo, maybe a beam rifle into a grenade or vice versa. You have that option there. Next, you have the Phalanx, that is the Gatling guns that are in the shield. This is again another weapon that is carried over from the F01. Not really the best stun accumulation, but it does do really good damage and is also just really good for overall suppression. So a really nice weapon. I do like to use this as well, both with this suit and the F01. And then finally we have the Messer Type-F02 shield, which I only mention this fully in name because the shield between this suit and the F01, they are not different from each other whatsoever. They're both large size shields with 7,000 HP. Yeah, they're the exact same thing. I assume this one may have just gotten its own shield because of the grenade or something, so Really not too sure why about that, but that is everything you have for your weapons. And then for just some notable skills, you do have the V-tail stabilizer. That is something else that has also been carried over from the FO1, and probably a skill we'll see with more of the halfway suits in the future, as I think most people seem to be pretty confident that the anniversary suits are going to be the Z and the Penelope, and I feel like those suits are going to have this skill, or at least something like it, and maybe just at a higher level as well. So yeah, really going to be exciting to see more of this skill. I do really like the V-tail stabilizer. It is a really neat thing to have, as you see me using it here. Pretty much acts like almost like a form of flight when you are boosting in the air, and it also has some extra benefits behind it as well. Aside from that, you just have pretty much the basic raid skills. You do have Shield Break Stance Mastery, which that is something that a lot of raids have been getting recently. That's just basically if your shield gets destroyed, you won't get stunned. Yeah, really nothing too exciting to say about that. And then you also have 3 melee swings as well. Other than that, yeah, really don't have much else to say. Oh, you have aerial melee system as well, but I think this is something that the general also has, so again, really just something else that carried over. And actually, you have maneuver armor level 3. I don't know if that's a new level for this suit. At least the way I've heard it talked about, so that might be a new level. I'm not too sure, but maneuver armor level 3. And then you also have a dodge roll, so yeah, that's really the notable skills that I'm going to name for that there. And yeah, really, if you just, look at that alone, again, the 2 suits here are just, or at least the 2 suits, I'm saying the 2 suits like I have a comparison on screen. The FO2 and the FO1 here, they're just both very similar suits, but at the same time, the raid to me, it does come off as worse, and this is also something else I've seen as well, from what I've heard about this suit from other players. So, yeah, like, it's just, the FO2, I'm going to let this match finish up first, because we are on the last 30 seconds of this ace match before I really start getting into the nitty-gritty behind everything here. But really, yeah, it's like, it's like I said, like, that's why I keep saying, like, this video took so long to make. It's really hard to go into detail about this without me saying, oh, it's just the FO1, but with some different weapons and worse, in a way, which, worse, I mentioned this in my live stream, worse is a very strong word. I don't even think the suit is necessarily bad, I just think the general is better. I think that's really the way to, or at least not the way to look at it, that's the way I really look at it, is that the general is just a better version of this suit here. And real quick, yeah, here's the stats for this first match here. Again, just go through these before we get into the nitty-gritty. I did beat my rival on this match, but I didn't look like it ended up anywhere on the board. I did make 6th place though, with 2 kills and 2 losses. Not too bad for that match here, and that's going to lead into the second match, and that's going to lead into me continuing what I was saying about how the FO2 is not as good as the FO1. Now I will start with the positives. The FO2, this is going to be a weird thing to say as a positive. It is a hovering suit. I wonder if it's a positive. It's really just a difference from this and the FO1, which walks like a normal mobile suit. But I do think the hovering for the FO2 here is really nicely done. You have just enough drift to where, you can like do some interesting things with it, but you're not like too floaty to where you can't stabilize yourself. So if you stop moving, I feel like, you're not very like wishy-washy sliding all over the place, which is really nice, especially for this cost. I feel like that wouldn't really be something we'd have to worry about that much. But again, it's just overall a really nice feature of this suit here. The new weapons that this suit gets as well that the FO1 doesn't have. This is something else that I mentioned when I brought them up, that I do really like these new weapons. I won't really talk too much about the Vulcans. They are still, at the end of the day, pretty much just Vulcans you can boost while using them. But the rapid fire beam rifle and the shield grenade, I think both of these are really nice additions, and they really do complement this suit with its more, well, you are a raid, so the more raid-styled gameplay behind it. I do think these weapons do pair up really well. Aside from that, I guess that's really what I'll say is the positives. Some of the more iffy things that I've seen and heard about this suit, one of the big ones is definitely going to be the melee pattern. Now, the melee pattern for the raid here is different than the general. I believe the side swings are the same, but the difference is that the F02 really has almost more like a standard beam saber styled like neutral and downswing. Kind of like something you'd see with a lot of Federation suits, but I don't think it's exactly like those ones. The F01 had a poke neutral, and then it had a very long-reaching downswing where it would boost forward and do like a side slash. So that really just allowed you to do a whole lot with the melee for that suit. And especially since you were paired with the aerial melee suit, again, I think the general has it, unless it's called something else, but I do remember, being in the air and being able to use my melee, so I do think it is the same skill for that. It's like with that you can do a lot. With this, I feel like the aerial melee isn't as effective with the more standard style downswing. Though I don't mind the downswing itself, it's really just more paired with the aerial melee. Sometimes it lands and sometimes it doesn't from my experience. The melee pattern itself I am okay with. I do understand that, the devs would want to give it a different pattern instead of just, it's the exact same suit, or the exact same, melee pattern as the Messer Type-F01. Especially since both of those suits are at the same cost, I would rather prefer that they do something a little different to keep it interesting. As you can see here, you still can do some really good damage. At least I would have been able to show that if the 3A Zeta didn't get in the way with the Mega Beam there. But, again, I feel like it's not really too bad of an issue. Another thing I've heard as well is that the Messer Type-F02 lacks the smoke option that the F01 has, which, if you're not familiar with smoke, it gives you temporary stealth and as well as a temporary increase to your defense. And this was something that was really good for the F01 because basically if you used it while you were flying around with the V-tail stabilizer, you can pretty much turn yourself into a stealth bomber, which is a really cool concept for a mobile suit in this game. I don't think we really ever had anything like that before. Something with stealth that was able to fly. I mean, already, having a bomber-style suit is pretty rare in itself, which is something I wish they would do with the the Gazome's mobile armor mode. I wish that's something they would implement with that, because I do believe that suit is meant to be a bomber with its mobile armor. Or I should say it's transformed. I don't know if they call it mobile armor with the Gazas, but that's something I wish they would implement to more suits, a style like that. But really, it's just I guess this is where I can kind of go into the downswing, downswings. No, I already covered that. The downsides of this suit here. The most obvious one is that you're a very bulky mobile suit. But I mean, it's the same issue that the Messer Type-F01 has, though you do have a bit more bulk with the bell bottoms that this suit has. So you're all going to have an increased hitbox at the legs. That is something to consider. I don't really think it's too much of an issue. I haven't really had a problem even with the extra bulk, so I think that really hasn't been much for me. Again, depending on how you view the downswing, or even just the new melee pattern with the neutral and the downswing and the lack of smoke, you could also view that as a downside. Again, not really something that I'm too bothered about with this suit here. I still think the suit operates for the most part fine. I think the biggest thing overall is that the Messer Type-F02 is a raid, a pretty basic raid. Like, I feel like the suit really doesn't have any particular strengths. You can kind of play it melee, you can kind of play it range, you can use the flight skill. Again, you can use a lot of things that the F01 can use, so I feel like the suit doesn't have much of its own strengths. And I think that's an issue for a cost where they are just a bunch of really good general type mobile suits. I already mentioned earlier with the Zeta Plus, not the Zeta Plus. I am mixing up my suits right now. There's no General Zeta Plus. The Zeta Gundam 3A, that's still a really strong 650 suit, still very popular within the meta. We do also have the Psycho Doga, that was recently buffed. You have the Messer Type-F01, you have the General Competition, you have the Psycho Bawu, that's another suit that I made an entire video about, praising, and again, as I played that recently as well, it's still also a really good General. So really at the cost, you just have like a lot that you have to like worry about being a much bulkier raid. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't think this necessarily means that this suit is bad by any means. It's a very basic standard raid for its cost, and it still has a good number of strengths attached to it that I still think it can work very well. Like you'll see at the end of this match here, this is one of the really good matches that I was able to get with this suit here. Like you can still do really well with it, and I think that is, again, a pretty good sign for it despite its downsides. But again, I think there is a good amount of pros that can outweigh the cons depending on who you are. If you have the Messer Type-F01 and you really like the playstyle of it and maybe you want that in a raid, then I would say, yeah, the suit is worth getting. I say worth getting. We're going to be on the pretty much the last day of the banner for this suit by the time this video comes out. But real quick, let's look at this last match here, and then I'll wrap up my thoughts of this video here. Didn't get in the board on this match either, but our Zeta Plus C1 did really well. And did I praise someone else? Nope. But I did get second place with 5 and 1, and second place in damage dealt. So yeah, really good match using the F02 for this one here. But yeah, I think this suit is kind of like, if you want it, you can pull for it. But if you have like another 650 raid that you're really good with, or just not really interested in this suit, I do think it is one that you can skip. I don't think it's really a need-to-have suit. Maybe if you need a 650 raid. It's, again, it's really if you need it, or you just, want it. It looks like something that you might enjoy. I don't think this is a suit that's going to be like, oh, you need to pull for this now before the banner ends. I do think this is one that, again, depending on your situation, you can skip on. But I do think it's okay. I think it's okay for the most parts, and yeah, that's really all I have to say here on the Messer Type-F02. So, yeah, that's going to be the end of these two matches here. The King of Kaiju, I hope you enjoyed the request first parts for this video here. And, comment down below what you think about the Messer Type-F02. Very interested to see, what people might think about this raid in particular. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Later.